Whoa, y'all, this is Rational Vids. It's been a long time. I've been very, very busy guy lately. I've moved up my life all the way up to Wisconsin. And since I've been in Wisconsin, I've really appreciated the state for avoiding a lot of things that make America suck right now. Well, one of those things being that they've abolished the death penalty since the 1850s, that they respect gay rights, being one of the first states to ever pass gay rights legislation and protection legislation in the early 80s. They've clearly respected labor rights in the past. They've established a lot of national progressive standards historically. And they've had a lot of history with progressive legislation and progressives running for office. So I love living up here in what feels like a more modern, developed country than the place I came from, which was Texas, which has been taken over by people like this. See, this is getting really bad. This is what I'm reporting on today. This is genocidal language. And for those of you who don't understand and try to make this sort of semantical difference between transgender and transgenderism, they really need to get their brain checked. Like that is such a smooth-brained and slimy approach to this, because transgenderism, which is not, first of all, is not a real thing. Transgenderism is basically the essence of being transgender, having gender dysphoria, growing up thinking that you associate with growing up that identifying with the other gender. That is what part of being transgender is. Instead of, giving transgender people the right to the healthcare they deserve, Michael Knowles wants to eradicate people. Yeah, because when he calls for the eradication of transgenderism, that basically means the eradication of who they are and how they feel comfortable being. It is the cultural genocide of transgenderism that he is advocating for. This slimy Daily Wire, pompous, arrogant piece of shit, Michael Knowles, who I've had problems with in the past. I know him. He's a very toxic human being, as well as Matt Walsh and all the other fucking crazies that Ben Shapiro hires on his Daily Wire network. But this article might be one of the most horrendous articles, and it's something I hear all the time from conservatives. The Federalist is obviously a very right-wing publication, so I know this is coming from a very conservative place. It's still a bad article. Michael Knowles is right. Transgenderism needs to be eradicated. Over the weekend, the corporate media potentially libeled Michael Knowles of the Daily Wire by claiming he called for the genocide of transgender people when they omitted 4 crucial words in his speech from their coverage. Here's exactly what Knowles said during his CPAC speech Saturday. For the good of society, and especially for the good of the poor people who have fallen prey to this confusion, transgenderism must be eradicated from public life entirely. The whole preposterous ideology at every level. You can watch that clip of him. Ugh, I can't even listen to him. He's such a fucking horrible genocidal prick. That last bit, the whole preposterous ideology, was maliciously left out by the crooked corporate press in the body text of their articles, which allowed them to run inaccurate headlines such as CPAC speaker sparks alarm with call for trans people to be eradicated. I just said this, but advocating for the eradication of transgenderism is saying that you want trans people to be eradicated, or at least their identity to be eradicated. Have them live as something other than themselves for the purpose of enforcing traditional gender roles upon the population. Anti-democratically. This is fascism. Purely fascism, and it's also pathologically lying to people about what transgender people who transgender people are and how they live out their lives. Knowles never said he wanted to eradicate trans people. Knowles, like others fighting against trans ideology, has compassion for those with gender dysphoria and wants them to receive the love and spiritual mental care they need to be comfortable with their biological. That's not how gender dysphoria works. You cannot treat gender dysphoria by. I want to know how Knowles is going to do this. This is going to be like some fucking horrible conversion therapy that he'll advocate for, which also which will also hypocritically violate children's rights way more than a consensual parent and doctor practice that's trying to help their kids. But transgenderism, Knowles is calling for a reckoning of a transgender movement, which was manufactured by radical gender activists and medical professionals who profiteer off of the chemical castration and mutilation of the mentally ill. No sources to back this up, by the way. His compassion is cited to his own. And by the way, the sources they're using are bullshit. Cited to his own YouTube channel. Citing to an Epoch Times article. Epoch Times is another notoriously and falsely right-wing conspiracy website. And then this crap here. Now they're just and then they're just going to self-reference their own articles. Knowles is actually practicing a form of radical love by recognizing that the greatest victims of transgenderism are the gender dysphoric and advocating for their liberation from the exploitative, morally bankrupt trans movement. See, now they're just flinging insults at it, like exploitative, morally bankrupt. Where's your fucking source? Federalist. They're self-referencing their own fucking articles, which they probably used to self-reference their sources in as well. Gender dysphoria is deeply associated with past trauma. As Federalist author Walt Heyer writes, people suffering from adverse childhood experiences are being led to slaughter. They are coping the best they can with feelings they can't understand. They seek help from trained gender professionals whose sole purpose is to diagnose gender dysphoria and catapult them into the only permitted course of treatment, cross-sex hormones and surgeries. No. First of all, that's false. Cross-sex hormones even are rarely used on young children. And surgeries are not even practiced on anybody below the age of 18 in most states. So first of all, they use way more discretion than just prescribing them cross-sex hormones and surgeries. They go through trained gender professionals are therapists that help people socially transition and be comfortable within their new gender role. Be comfortable within their new gender role that they feel is right, not the ones in which not one in which they just chose to be, but the one which feels right. Whatever happened to the fucking pursuit of happiness? The way transgender people pursue happiness is being comfortable with identifying as themselves, not as what society wants them to be. Trans people are committing suicide at higher rates than other people right now because of what society expects them to be. And to be clear, this is not all of society. Knowles' opinion is fucking fringe. Like, nobody actually fucking believes this. Not even conservatives. Not even many conservatives I've talked to. Like, most conservatives stand against maybe like child hormone therapy and cross-sex hormone therapy and stuff like that. We can debate about that. But they are not against transgender people as a concept. Like, they don't oppose people changing their biological, changing their gender identity and amending their physical appearance to reflect that gender identity. Nobody really, I mean, I've not heard a lot of people oppose that. Not even my parent, not even one of my parents who actually went to fucking CPAC and took a picture with fucking Michael Knowles. But I don't even think he believes that. I think he's a libertarian in that if you're 18 or older, you can choose to amend your gender like that, even if he doesn't believe in the concept of transgender people. Which he's so dumb. I just cannot debate him because he's such a stubborn jackass. But whatever. He's not going out of his way to hurt them. So, besides taking a picture with Michael Knowles, so I don't know how to feel about him right now. I'm not speaking to him currently. But anyway, victim. But this is just lying about people, and also people suffering from adverse childhood experiences are the ones getting. No, that's not how that works either. Gender dysphoria does not arise out of adverse childhood experiences. Parents who have gender dysphoric children are doing everything they can, everything they possibly can to help their child and to love their child as they would. They are not there to be against them, okay? This framing of parents is that they're grooming their children to be transgender. That is such a fucking absolutely disgusting fucking lie. Absolutely disgusting what you're insinuating, what these people are insinuating. And the ultimate legal consequence of that is to split up families, even though this parent may genuinely fucking love their child and want to care for them as best as possibly they can. It pisses me off so much. Victims of trans surgeries are reportedly mutilated without a psychoanalysis from their doctors, and post-op often suffer from disfigurement, nerve damage, internal hair growth, and sexual dysfunction, among other side effects. Yes, we know that. Oh, look at the articles. They're self-referencing themselves again. And no, they don't often suffer from disfigurement. That's not according to most medical associations. They're talking about detransitioners who make these medical claims, and they could have happened. Every medicine has adverse side effects. We know that. The youth victims of trans ideology are perhaps the most tragic. The cross-sex hormones given to minors are associated with severe joint pain, osteoporosis, compromised immune systems, thrombosis, heart attack, and stroke. See, this is where they actually reference, like, National Institute of Health in the UK and shit like that. This is where they actually start referencing, like, side effects and actual science for the first time in this fucking article. But again, you have to understand that young children are not being given cross-sex hormones. Not usually. Very rarely are young children, like younger than 10, I'm saying, younger than 12, are given cross-sex hormones. Puberty blockers, whatever you want to call them, that's the same. Puberty blockers are also hormone therapy. That's hormone therapy. It's partially, that's what you're doing with puberty blockers. Now, I don't know about puberty blockers. I believe in hormone therapy. I don't know about puberty blockers. I have to do the scientific research. I know that some people have said that there are severe side effects from puberty blockers, but that doesn't mean that we should restrict or ban them. We should just be testing them. We shouldn't be. We should be testing them to see if they're good. If they really are causing these effects, then let's make it better. Let's make medicine better. Let's not try to ban the practice. Oh, and then they claim infertility. See, this is the real problem they have. This is the actual problem they have with transgender people. Not that they might face medical risks from the puberty blocking treatment, or whether they'll affect women with women's. It's never about this shit. Those are just bullshit distractions. The real thing they're concerned about is the traditional family not being able to reproduce, which is absolutely a fucking batshit crazy fucking concern, because most people are fucking traditional families who are reproducing and having babies every fucking 8 seconds, you dumb twats. The bodies of gender dysphoric people are irrevocably damaged before they can legally drink, drive, buy a scratch-off ticket, see an R-rated movie, and most importantly, before their brains are fully developed and they've undergone puberty. But look, we can debate at what age is appropriate to administer hormone therapy, or when it's time to start making that transition, that the more identifiable transitions and stuff. If they ever change their minds, which most eventually do, and by most they reference a completely bullshit article about how most eventually regret transitioning, saying that there are more detransitioners somehow than trans people, which is a fucking like bullshit statistic. I don't even know where they pulled that one out of their ass. There's often no reversing the damage that's been done. The hormones and surgeries do not fix gender-confused people's psychological turmoil, which is why they suffer from disturbingly high rates of suicide, depression, and self-harm. Oh, really? And why is that? Why do you think it is that they commit suicide? Maybe because people don't accept them and call them freaks all the time. Maybe because many people still do that. One study found that more than 50% of trans and non-binary youth in the U.S. considered suicide in 2022. And why again, because people like jackoffs and fucking fascists like such as yourselves are calling for their elimination. You fucking idiots. Can you not see what you're doing? Further, it is ironic. Oh, this is the best part. Further, it is ironically leftists who are actively eradicating the offspring of gender dysphoric people. Every year, millions of gender-confused individuals are rendered infertile by chemical and surgical sterilization. They don't have to have chemical or surgical sterilization. Sometimes it's part of the practice. Sometimes that's medically the only reason. But they don't have to undergo chemical and surgical sterilization in the U.S. to change their gender in many states. All they have to do is apply for a court order and go through social transitioning or hormone therapy. That's all they ever had to do. But the real problem is they have is like, there's no reproduction, even though we hate talking about sex. These people are ironic in almost every single way, to the point that irony is dead here. So the issue with gender affirming care is similar to Canada's problematic plan to administer state sponsored executions for depressed people. State sponsored executions for depressed people. They are just pulling this out of their ass. That is what they are doing. So they're calling mentally ill who call for themselves to be euthanized, who do it consensually as a state-sponsored execution. The ethos underlying both the push for assisted suicide and gender-affirming care fail to understand or even address mental illness. All that surgeries and hormones do is deploy mass eugenic-like sterilization on an entire portion of the population. Bullshit. Give me the source. There's no fucking source besides your own self-reference. Of course, transgender ideology also impacts women, whose identity has been diminished to a mere costume. Bullshit. We treat now they're pretending to be the feminists. Female athletes are losing athletic contests and scholarships to men. Some female athletes have been seriously harmed by their bigger and stronger male competition. Look, when it comes to sports, it's a little different because biological sex in sports matters more than gender identity. I understand that. Or I guess in many sports. I'm not talking about fucking bowling or golf. I'm talking about maybe like track and field or fucking swimming or like basketball / football. It does matter. Like biological sex at birth does play a huge fucking role in sports. So I understand that. But then there's this. Schoolgirls have been sexually assaulted by male students who have been permitted by woke school boards to lurk in female restrooms. These are debunked claims, and they're also self-referencing themselves again. And female prisoners are given birth control to avoid falling pregnant by cross-dressing male inmates. So what's wrong with women being given birth control to avoid falling pregnant? That's just a rape preventative issue. Transgender ideology is dangerous to women, children, and gender dysphoric individuals. It destroys people's minds and bodies and is, without a doubt, cancerous to society. Michael Knowles is absolutely correct. It needs to be eradicated. Yeah. Of course you'd say that after making all these bullshit claims. The Federalist is a fascist paper. We're calling it. Thanks for watching Rational Vids. Have a great night.